This is a high protein mac and cheese you guys are gonna love. All right, this whole recipe makes 5 servings. So to make sure that each serving was accurate, you wanna make sure you measure out your pasta. I've been liking this Bonza chickpea pasta. I fortify it with fiber and it has protein in it. It's a really good alternative to a regular pasta. So a serving is 2 ounces dry. And since I'm making 5 servings, I'm gonna put my pot on a scale and I'm gonna measure out 10 ounces of the dry pasta. So that was a whole box and then 2 ounces from another box. You're gonna set that aside while you bring a pot of plain water to boil. Make sure you add your salt and then you're gonna add your pasta to the water and then just boil it, cook it to package instructions. When it's done, drain, rinse, and set aside. You're gonna need the empty pot to measure out equal proportions. So just keep watching. So while your pasta is cooking, you're gonna make the high protein cheese. Don't skip this blender step. It's so easy and it's actually pretty quick to do. Just 2 containers of good culture low-fat cottage cheese. You can use any brand of your choice. Of course, make sure you include that into your own recipe on the MyFitnessPal app if you do. Just wanted to spare a little bit extra fat since we're gonna be using some sharp cheddar cheese. And of course, by blending this is gonna add more protein to your meal. Each container is 2 cups total, so that's gonna be a total of 4 cups of cottage cheese. Next, you're gonna add 2 cups or likely gonna be the whole bag of sharp cheddar cheese to your blender. All right, then you're gonna blend that up until it's super smooth, so it's just gonna take a few minutes. All right, next I'm gonna show you how I added this in the MyFitnessPal app as a recipe. So you're gonna open up your app, click on the bottom where it says My Meals, Recipes, and Foods. Tap the bottom where it says Create a Recipe, then enter the ingredients manually. All right, you're gonna make the title of your recipe, excuse my spelling. It's kind of in a hurry. All right, and then you need to know how many servings this is gonna make. So I already knew up front I was gonna make 5. But here's the thing, if you don't know and you're just throwing a recipe together, always base it by how much protein is gonna be in the meal. You could always just put in a number and then go back and edit it once you go to split your recipe up if you want to do it that way. The arrow at the top, add each ingredient separately. Now I have the premium version of MyFitnessPal, so I use the barcode scanner. That is now a premium feature. Of course, you could just type it in. It's not a big deal. You don't have to have premium. They're gonna have most of the foods that you scan in the database. And we did 10 ounces of that pasta. So make sure you have the correct serving size in there. Next, we're gonna scan the sharp cheddar cheese. Now what it's gonna do, it's gonna automatically assume that you used 1 serving. And remember, we used the whole bag, which has 2 cups. You can actually change the serving size to the cup. And then, of course, make sure you edit it to put the entire 2 cups that you put into that recipe. Next, go ahead and scan your cottage cheese. And if you recall, we used 2 containers in the entire recipe. And that was it. That's really all this recipe had, was those 3 things. Now, if you're adding extra toppings or things like that, you need to make sure that you log them separately. But as you can see there, it auto-populates how many calories and macros are in one individual serving. So keep watching. I'm going to show you later how we split the recipe up and make sure that those servings are all equal. And of course, you can always go back and edit your recipe if you find that maybe the calories or something was too high. Maybe you need to divide it into more servings to have a better calorie and macro balance. All right, this is where we use our magic food scale. So this is going to come in handy. You're going to I just like to use the pot that I cooked it in. Obviously, it's cooled off, etc. You're going to place that on your scale and zero out your scale and make sure it's in grams. I just find grams is easier to divide the recipe up. You'll see in a second. So I'm going to add my pasta. And I'm just going to drop that entire container of what I used in the blender where I blended the cottage cheese and the sharp cheddar cheese. You scrape the sides, make sure you get all those nutrients out of there. Add as much of that as you can since it's already included into the recipe. Of course, yeah, some stuff is going to get stuck on the side of the container, etc., but just do your best to get all of it in there. Once all the ingredients are added, you see you have a final number. It's going to be 1.646 kilograms, which is 1,646 grams. Write that number down in case your scale turns off, because that's how we're going to figure out how we divide up this recipe. Before we do that, we're just going to do our final stir, and look how delicious and creamy this high protein mac and cheese is. I really love this, and it was so easy to make. All right, now here's how we get the recipe into equal portions. We have the total weight of the recipe, 1,646. I already know it's going to make 5 servings, so I'm just going to divide that number by 5. And that's going to give you the total grams in each individual servings, which is 329.2. You can round up to 330. You could round down if you wanted. Of course, nothing is going to be exactly perfect to the number, but just do your best to make sure that everything is as equal as it can be. And trust me, this method is way better than trying to eyeball it yourself. All right, so you set your recipe aside, and now you just get each individual container, you put it on the scale, zero it out in grams, and then you're just going to be adding from your main recipe into the individual container until you get that number, and then do that for all of your servings. Right, to add a little bit more flavor, I did do a tablespoon of bacon bits. This isn't included in the overall macros, so make sure you add those separately yourself if you decide decide to use them. Also, another good thing on here, seasoned salt or any type of like Cajun seasoning, something like that. And enjoy this one, guys. I hope you love it as much as I do.